Hello, it's Ash. If you've been hanging out with me at all on Instagram, you might not be because we're clearly on YouTube, but you will know that I most recently got into lip glosses, which I have not done since my 20s. Yes, surprise, surprise. If you're just meeting me, I am not in my 20s, but I'm feeling like it these days. Welcome back to my channel. This is Ash Johns, Ash Inspires. I am your women's personal development expert, ancestral healing, conscious business strategist, feminine leadership advisor, guide, and mentor. I don't know. I'm just playing around with all the titles that I've ever used and people have known me for, and all the other things that I do. Anywho, yes, I'm feeling really, really like juicy these last couple of days and weeks. I think it's the end of this year, closing out all the little astrological things that are doing. I think it's some of the things that have been happening personally in my life, which I have been writing about on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. We're going to talk about it here on YouTube. And I also think it's just the energy of the new year coming in. So if you are just finding my channel for the very first time, you can find me all over the internet. But if you're like, she's all over the internet, but also all of this content is old, it's because I'm just coming back to the internet. So you're finding me at the most very perfect, divine, and aligned time. You can subscribe if you already like my energy and my vibe. Otherwise, keep on scrolling, keep on going, keep on living. All is good. Today's topic is really interesting because it's something I have been thinking about and I have been secretly talking about within my inner circles, with my private clients, within my inner realm, right? And I think it's time for us to just open up the conversation here on my channel and out in the world. And I look forward to your respectful and constructive and co creational comments down below as we crawl into the beginning of this conversation. So let's get to it. I have been seeing for years now, especially since I've come back to the States and this, like, I don't know if it's third wave, fourth wave, 15th wave of feminism, but ever since I came back to the States, which was the 2018, beginning of 2018, obviously we all know there's so many things that's happened, but as far as cultural movements and narratives and, you know, efforts, if you will, activisms to change the world and how we're relating in society, we all know there's been this, again, huge wave of feminism and people's relationship to the masculine and men and patriarchy. Okay. Yes, there's a lot of conversations around this, especially as it relates to like race and this particular situation. But it's always never quite sat right with me. And because I didn't want to get all into the mental gymnastics of the conversation, I've just shied away from talking about it publicly. And now as I'm coming into or coming back online and coming into my thought leadership and my point of view, and even my leadership in what I do for a living and in other people's worlds, it's just necessary that I start. Actually, it's not even necessary. I just want to talk about it now. So let's just talk about it. I don't believe in anti-patriarchy. I do not. And the reason why I do not stand behind or believe in this like huge band-aid or this like brushstroke of being anti-patriarchy is, well, I'll just break it down as three main reasons, and we can keep unpacking this in future videos. But one of the reasons, particularly as a Black woman and as a woman of color, I think about our ancestral journey to the Americas to become Africans of the diaspora. Part of the thing that allowed us to become enslaved, that allowed us to be disconnected from our roots in each other, that allowed us to be extracted from our homelands and forced to forget our native tongue, our native language, tongue language, names, song, dance, spiritual practices, religions, all the things, is by breaking up the family units, right? It's by pulling us from the lands, from our tribes, our groups, our circles, right? Our roles within our communities, and also our relationships, literally separating families. When we look across history, what they tell us, and also what we've learned amongst ourselves and in our research, and all of our great scholars in our communities, right, who are reclaiming and remembering and pulling up the histories, whether it's written or through oratory, language, communication, right, is that when we start to be separated from each other, that is how we become weak. That is how we become more vulnerable. That is how we have to rely on others who are not from our cultural background, who do not walk with the same things that we walk, not from a human perspective, but from a cultural perspective, right? Because you guys who know me know that I'm all about the entire human race, the entire human community. I believe in unity conscious. I know that we all are connected to the great creators and creator of this human experience. That is all true. And also, we've come into these different cultural experiences, cultural belonging, right? Melatoned experiences for a reason, right? And that matters too. So when we were separated from our lands, from our tribes, from our communities, from our cultures, and from each other, including men and women, that did something for us. And it was done by design. It was meant to break us down. It was meant to isolate us. It was meant to make us forget and be dependent on a system that wasn't meant for us, right? As it was being created. So when people say, fuck the patriarchy and they're anti-men and talk about toxic masculinity, especially within the Black community and the community of people of color, I'm like, guys, like that's not actually helping us. And I'm not going to say some of our men, some of our masculine folks are not operating in ways that is harmful and hurtful and create separation. Like we know all these things are happening. There's no question about that, and vice versa. And to like subscribe to this movement in a way that denigrates, I think that's the word. I'm forgetting language in the moment, but I want you to feel what I'm saying. If I believe, if we, and if I subscribe to being anti something that is actually something that's missing in our culture, in our communities, in our homes, there's a problem with that. It's like a bait and switch. It's like we are been in this like period of trauma. I just think it's interesting how I'm like even like fumbling through explaining it. Like open the airways here, open the airways. But like it's like we've all have been in these periods of trauma and looking at how the world has been created to be in this masculine, like this man's world. And now we're so anti-man's world, but we don't realize there is good in that. There's something that we need from that. And there's some like course correcting, some rebalancing, some reattuning to the goodness of men, the goodness of the masculine that we need in our communities, especially as Black and Brown people. So that's what I'm going to say there. I think it is by design that we have been put against each other as masculine and feminine, as men and women, right? In our culture. So it would make us vulnerable. It would make us be overworking and misunderstand each other and not have love and respect and understanding as close and as deeply as we actually need it. So that's number one. It serves systems, experiences, people who don't want to see unity and wealth and well-being amongst people who look different than them and come from different places than them, right? And we all have fear. We all have deep personal and ancestral trauma and wounds, regardless to race and economics and nationality. But there is something about this of being anti-patriarch when so many women of color, particularly Black women, are not as supported as we desire and as we need and as we dream. And we're overworked and we're underpaid. That's interesting. That's interesting to me. So that's number one. Number two, I kind of started talking about this, but I have been talking about in other places on the internet how I've recovered from burnout. In fact, I was clinically diagnosed by an actual physician to be in stage 4 adrenal fatigue, meaning my cortisol was literally not, I was not producing any cortisol at all. I stayed flatlined the entire day to the point that I couldn't really quite get out of bed. I couldn't walk my dog. I easily got exhausted doing anything, just like going to the bathroom. I had no energy. And they literally were like, Ash, if we did not realize how like shut down your adrenal glands are and how it's affecting your hormones and your entire nervous system, if we did not catch this, your organs would have started shutting down. You would have been hospitalized. You could have left this earth. And so I started on this journey of healing my body and my nervous system and my hormones and restoring my, my glands and all the things. And as I was researching and working with my doctors and doing all the other tactical things, I started tapping into what was absolutely needed. And that was living from my feminine energy, living from my feminine knowing, living from my feminine essence, instead of always abandoning that to move into my masculine and live from my masculine energy. Again, we've all been indoctrinated in the masculine energy. So during this journey, I had to rely on family. I had to rely on my husband. And I had to also rely on my actual faith, my actual relationship to spirit in a level that I have never done ever before. And in that journey, I was also researching online of like, what are other people saying about burnout? What are other women talking about on burnout? And if you notice, if you Google burnout, most of the videos are from women. Women. I hardly see any men talking about burnout. Men will be like, yeah, I'm a little beat down. I feel like my job isn't paying me that much. I feel unfulfilled. But men are not having hormonal issues like we are, that it's all connected to actual adrenal fatigue. So I'm like, all these women in this boss babe movement in the online business, and I make $10,000 in an hour, and all of these things, all of our accolades and all the intelligence we've accumulated, because we're all have been, most of us raised in a time and a place where female, woman, girl power achievement we've been preached and indoctrinated into, and we can unpack all of that because it connects to this whole point of this video, right? But I'm like, all the women who are talking about burnout are overworked, right? They're stretched thin. So most of them either have an underperforming partner in their opinion, or they're single, right? Or they're the breadwinner. There's something about the missing energy of the masculine that is contributing to us women being burnt out, clinically burnt out, flatlined. And I was like, we need men. We need men. We were never created biologically, most of us, unless you happen to run with very high testosterone and you're a more masculine female assigned at birth, assigned female at birth. There we go. Thank you. Fem or whatever. If that's you, then fine. Skip this video, not for you. No problem. But for most of us who are not that way, which I am not, I have operated out of my masculine, out of survival, out of what I was taught, out of what was needed, out of what was necessary, out of the circumstances, right? As many of us are, right? We're not meant to be pumping masculine energy all the time and in stress all the time. And all of these quick fix band-aids of like, go out in the sunshine more, go in nature more, go do yoga, eat more greens, do de-stress, have meditation, do breath work. Like those things are all amazing, but they're never going to be enough when the entire situation and system we're living in and the system we're indoctrinated in our own mind of how we choose to work, what we believe will create the necessary things that we need to thrive in our lives can only be produced through masculine energy. If we keep believing that, all those techniques, all those strategies, all those tactics, all of those monthly massages, because I was definitely spending so much money getting massages every week, doing all the self-care in the most luxurious ways to try to tend to my nervous system because I'm missing that partnership at the time, missing that structure. And what we do as very, very smart women, I'm not knocking this, it's smart, but I don't know if it actually works because it didn't work for me. So if it worked for you, let me know in the comments. But most times we try to erect a structure of the masculine to support us. It'll be like automations in your business, hire more team, create SOPs, right? Like hire a nanny, do shifts. Like we create all of these other systems to create a structure to fill the void of having a man or the masculine in our lives. I don't think there's anything wrong with those things. I'm just curious if they're working as well as we say they are. And what if we had those things plus the masculine, a male in our lives? Because that is what transformed things for me. Okay, I hear you guys right now being like, oh, you're starting to center men and the feminine is whole. Yes, she is. We are the beginning and the end. We are the womb. We are the womb universe. We are, yes, that's all true. And The male and the masculine was created for a reason. The evidence is here. The biology doesn't lie, right? So even if we came first, which I actually believe, I don't know about that, other way of thinking about. I was raised Christian, but I don't know if I don't believe that way anymore. We have a conversation about that another time. But we still birth the men and the masculine for a reason. And there's lots of fairy tales and folk tales that talk about this, our need for that support, our need to see the expression of our love in that way outside of us to come and help us with all of our greatness in a different way. So the reason why I am not anti-patriarchy, anti-masculine energy, and anti-masculine thought, or how men, their actual primal behavior. In fact, I spend a lot of time just watching men and seeing their world and seeing how I feel and listening to how they think, because I don't need them to think like me or to move like me as a woman, especially not a feminine full spectrum woman, right? Who has the full range of her creational power. I don't need them to be like me, but I do need and deeply desire for us to have a respect for each other, an appreciation for each other, an understanding about each other, right? An honor about each other and our difference, not in our equality. Not in our equality, but we are on this planet, whatever way you want to see this as it relates to genders and all of that. But like, these two energies are on this planet and in our experience for a reason, both internally and externally. And so getting into right relationship with each other is going to take tons of healing, tons of patience, tons of boundaries, standards, communication, right? Time, but it's needed. It is absolutely needed. There is something about a man or the masculine strength that we need as women and feminine people, and vice versa. And we see that again through the evidence of this, I call it an epidemic of women experiencing biological burnout, emotional burnout, mental burnout, and how many single mothers are just like, it's too much. We were never meant to do it alone, even though we have the capacity to do it. We have infinite capacity to expand. And yet, I don't think it's meant that way, meant to be that way. If it's your choice, by all means. For me, I was like, yeah, this is done. I'm tapped out. I can do a lot of things, people, but I am not feeling this anymore. And that's coming from someone who was raised to be an independent woman, raised to be, no longer identify as. So, conversation, I'll do another video about that and let me know if you want to see it in the chat. Reason number 3 that I am not subscribing to this like overarching blanket statement of being anti-patriarchal or anti the patriarch is, and this is actually a twofer. I'm going to give you 2. So this is 3 and 4. I think about the absence of fathers in our children's lives. I myself did not have my biological father in my life until I was 15, even though he knew of me, even though we kept like a distant eye of like what was going on. I was raised by my stepfather from the age of 4, but even then his presence and his consistency and how he fathered wasn't exactly what we needed, not just me as a daughter, but also as a family with my brothers, so on and so forth. And so when we think about, particularly in Black culture, but everyone, when there is an absence of a father figure with the father codes, with the patriarchal oversight that is being invoked that is being erected within you, there is always something missing. Just like when a mother's energy and nurturing is missing in a child's life, there is an effect. And so there's a reason why it takes both a mother and a father, the masculine and feminine, both sides to create something new, because they both create or contribute something. Yes, we've got immaculate conception and all that stuff. That's fine, whatever. But neither one of us is over here doing that. So we're going to have the conversation off the regular human experience. We know what happens when there is an absence of a father in someone's life, when there's an absence of the mother in someone's life. Like, this is absolutely needed. And so being one-sided on this and saying we're going to fuck the patriarchy and we need to move into matriarchal rule doesn't sit right with me. What I feel and sense is that the future is harmony. The future is the restoration of the right balance and relationship and dance between the masculine and the feminine. For us to reconcile this great gap and pain between the two of us so that we can actually create new worlds. Just an idea, just an idea. So that's another piece. And the fourth or bonus one is that there's something that we also get from each other. In my time, the last couple of years, I think I started studying, men and dating and masculinity and femininity and womanhood and all of these creational codes of femininity and all these things, like about 2016-ish, invested and done some things and worked with some people and explored some stuff. And I think it's so interesting because going in that journey, I have sat and watched and had very candid conversations with men to understand their world and what they wanted to tell me and the truth underneath the truth and their perspective of their perspective and how their primal energy works, how they move. Like I've had moments where I didn't understand when a man, I thought I understood, but I didn't understand what he was really saying and what he was actually seeing until it came to pass later on. And so there's oftentimes a lot of celebration about the oracular power of a woman. I am very much so psychic. I'm very much so an oracle of a woman, right? I'm very in tune with the unseen world. I can sense and see beyond what someone else can sense and see oftentimes, which is what makes me so great at the work that I do and the women that I work with, and also the men and the businesses that I work in. However, sometimes we forget that men also have their own gifts in this own way. They do. And so there's something that we both get. There's a spiritualness, there's a knowingness that is bestowed upon each being from the divine that we both contribute to each other. There's moments when I can see a man really being like, yeah, I need her medicine, and vice versa. And so when we say fuck the patriarchy, or we don't, we're bashing men, it's like, what are we saying here? Because a lot of times the next conversation is women complaining that a man isn't in their life, or the sport isn't in their life, or the good kind of person isn't in their life. And I'm like, wow, if we keep talking, and I'm not going to say it's our responsibility to fix, if we say and talk the things that it magically happens, but I do know the creational, gravitational pull, the energetics of a woman in her power, we create a lot of things. We open thresholds and portals and opportunities by being ourselves. And what would happen if enough women decided to tune into this instead of what we've already been trying to do that isn't quite working? I think we're on the cusp of a reconciliation between the two sexes, between the two energies, in a way that allows us to come together and mend and heal and create and grow and start to cultivate the communities and the families that we all deeply need and desire. So this is just the beginning of me ripping off the Band-Aid of this thought. There's lots more that I'm going to say, but I think you get the vibe. I actually just wanted to drop this into the field of the internet and see how you guys respond to it. If you want me to go further and actually prepare a proper video and talk a little bit more about this, please let me know in the comments. Give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're into that kind of thing. Otherwise, just make a little mental note that you vibe with me and you like my energy, and you're going to come back and check my channel. I am looking forward to my next video with you. I can't wait to see your comments, and I'm sending you love wherever you are. I'll see you guys next time. Oh, by the way, I am actually running a free 2-day event on December 19th and 20th, 2024. So if you're watching this in the future, still check the comments, the description box, because there may be a link there for you to sign up. But if you're seeing this in real time, definitely sign up. It is specifically for women, femmes, and also people in general. If you would like to learn how to combat burnout, okay? Stop doing these quick fixes, stop having these band-aids, and actually get yourself in the juice of your life so that you are not running on fumes. You're not saying you're going to stop hustling, but you actually still are. You should join this workshop. It's going to be really, really quite beautiful. I'm speaking very candidly about how I healed my own burnout, something that people said was going to take me 3 to 5 years to recover from. It took me about 1.5 years. And it's a certain thing lots of things that I did and lots of things I did not do in order for me to recover from burnout and really tap into my full creational power as a woman. My life has changed. My business is changing. Everything is completely different. And I would love to share that with you. So if this speaks to you, definitely sign up. I'd love to see you in it. There will be a replay. And if you're so far in the future, you're like, damn, did I miss it? Send me a message. I'd love to see if we can help you out and get you inside. I'm sending you lots of love.